The truth need to be scientific. If it's really it's a truth, it should be the universal truth, and that means these universal truths need to be able to be examined by science.
Welcome to Point of Relation with Thomas Hübl, a podcast that illuminates the path to collective healing at the intersection of science and mysticism. This is the Point of Relation. Our guest for today's episode is Venerable Dr. Yifa. Venerable Dr. Yifa is a Taiwanese Buddhist nun, scholar, and writer who was ordained in 1979. She is the founder of the Woodenfish Foundation and an associate at the Asia Center at Harvard University. We hope you enjoy this conversation.
Hello and welcome. This is Point of Relation, my podcast. My name is Thomas Hübl, and I'm here with Venerable Dr. Yifa. Yifa, warm welcome to the podcast here. I'm so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you to having me.
It's so lovely. I'm very curious about our conversation because I think we share also the love for meditation, and the spiritual practice is very dear to my heart, and it's your life. So there's lots we can talk about. And the beginning is how maybe you can tell us a little bit about your journey as a monastic, as an academic. How do these two things go together? Why did you choose to combine both? I often speak about the mystical science and how they have a dialogue, and in you it seems they have a strong dialogue too. So maybe you can share a little bit with us. How did your path unfold?
This is going to be a long story. If it's too long, you have to, shut me off. I was born in Taiwan. And when I was young, I always want to be a politician. I want to be the first female president in Taiwan. Of course, right now we have the first female president, Tsai Ing-wen. So she already took my place. But so that's why I went to, a political science. I was enrolled into National Taiwan University Law School. It's almost like in United States would be Harvard Law School. And, quite a few, you can say most of the Taiwanese president right now are all from this department, Taida, National Taiwan University Law School. But when I was young, I always curious. I think this is the kind of most important in my life. Is I always wondering that why I came to this world. That means the purpose of existence, and also what was I before I came here, and what I will be after I leave this world. I think that these are the three major questions in my life. Even though, you kind of on the path of doing law or politics. And it was when I was a first year in the college, the summer, and a friend just said, hey, why don't you go to a temple and participate in meditation? And at that time, I did not have any, religion belief for myself, even though my family growing up in so-called folk religion, our Taoist religion's family. So I went up to the temple, and then I think after 2 weeks, you use a Christian's term, like you have a calling. But for me, I developed a sense of renunciation. And many people ask me, what is a renunciation experience? And I can share with you, because some of the scholars, they just, kind of far away from this kind of more like a mystical experience. this the sense of renunciation at that moment, I experienced like I'm in a different zone with all other people. That means the way I see, get along with the other people, I feel like everyone is like aliens to me. We call ET. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I myself is an alien. But that was kind of in my mind. So you see your parent, you see your friend, you see the people surrounding you. They are like an alien. Okay, that's the first experience. The second experience will be, I love music and I love to sing. I love singing. But at that time, like a kind of a worldly music to me, it's just noisy. So and the most important thing is your mind is so calm. So because, after I became a nun, and my parents, they don't believe like I will join the order. They think that, okay, you are in the best school, in law school, you're going to become a politician, you have a good future. I don't believe that you will withdraw from the world. So I was took home by my parents and somehow kind of locked up, And but during motorcycle, okay. So during this 2 months lock up, my mind is so calm because there were so many friends. They come over, try to convince you not to join, dissuade you from joining the order. But you feel at that moment you're unshakable. So I can continue to talk about this kind of experience of what I call renunciation, and that is why because of this experience, and I joined the order. I share my hair. I become a nun, and since then it has been 45 years, and never regret. And I enjoy this life. So nun's life. So if you want to ask me what will be kind of a continue, am I right now see most people like an alien? No more. But I still have that attitude. When one of the students asked me, say, how can you pursue your happiness? I said, well, I will try to avoid unhappiness. That means that I will try to avoid unnecessary human entanglement. That means that all kinds of trouble relationship. That's kind of in my right now my life attitude. We're still very active in like propagate Dharma, share the Dharma, or create all kinds of program. But your personal life is try to avoid unnecessary and unhealthy human relationship. I call human entanglement. So and then of course after I still finished my law degree, and then by some kind of accidentally I was invited to study in United States. I went to Hawaii to finish my master's degree first, and then went to Yale for my PhD. And then after that, I have been kind of helping out the temple to establish a university in Los Angeles. They call the University of the West in California, in Rosemead. And I have to say that 2009, or even 2 years before, everybody say, oh, okay, 21st century is going to be China's century. So then I just pick up, 2 luggage, and I went to China, and I lived there 11 years. I think that's a pretty good experience. I told myself, like, I'm going to take, I'm study, like a sociology, but without degree, PhD in sociology without degree, to learn about during that time the China's situation. And it has been very interesting because I have bring the college student to China to sit in meditation for 1 month in summer, and I brought Buddhist scholar. We went to those holy sites and study, for example, Mountain Tiantai. We will study the Tiantai study. And I also bring the scientists from Silicon Valley, from those high-tech, company, and we have a Buddhism, science, and future dialogue, all happen in China. But after 2019, especially 2020, and I came back to Boston, and also accidentally, without it's not planned at all. And because the pandemic happened, then I got stuck here. It's Harvard is a good place to get stuck.
Right.
Yeah. So right now I've been with Harvard for like 4 years. Right now I'm the associate at Asia Center here.
Beautiful. So tell me a little bit why science and the deep practice of meditation. What are the two for you inside of you? Like, how do these two different approaches to reality basically combine in you?
For me, I think that if you're on the path of religion, for me, the definition is that you are on the path, seeking for the truth. The truth need to be scientific. If it's really it's a truth, it should be the universal truth, and that means these universal truths need to be able to be examined by science, and also I find that that many message in the canon, or what we call the Buddhist teaching, those doctrine that it's kind of in an ancient language, but if we can use a modern scientific knowledge or the language to decode, the way I say decode, and indeed that's help myself to understand what is really the message in the canon, in the doctrine. And the other one is help you share this. If you use a scientific language, you share the language with the people. So help people to understand what does mean about the universal truths we are all looking for. That's it. That's a fine. I find like, and also maybe for someone who are on the path of to study law, the mind is very logical, and it like to be reasoning. So still, this kind of attitude, scientific approach, not because now you become a nun, then you will just abandon. Of course, we all understand that science is not to the ultimate development. That means the scientists, they also kind of every time they will refuse or turn over what their discovery. But the attitude it's very important. And so, for example, in Buddhism, we will call like the whole universe. If you ask what is the universe, even though right now we try to the Big Bang or it is still very limited. You will ask what is before the Big Bang, okay, and what is the boundary before our universe, or our universe is unlimited. And so, but in Buddhism, the terminology also very vague. For example, we come to the viewpoint of a universe. in the sutra, it will call literally, it called 3,000 great thousand world. What does it mean? Well, then you give a explanation is that you have a small world, a structure. Of course, in this world, there was a continent, there were ocean, there was a mountain, and this is called a small size of the world. But thousands of the small worlds, it's become the middle size world, and then thousands middle size world, and become the big size of the world. So you call 小千、中千、大千. That means the small, middle, and large. Okay, and what kind of message try to explain the view of a universe? It try to say, well, our whole universe or cosmos indeed are multi-dimension. And now, because the Hübl scope, we realize that our world indeed, it's a layer by layer. Now we can call, Earth, and now we can call solar system. Now we can expand it to galaxy. So of course, some people might say, well, it might be a far-fetched, but for me, that might be a better, even now if we use the solar system, the galaxy, to explain what that mean about multi-layer universe. It helps people to understand what that mean about, 3,000 great thousand world. Yeah. So this is one of the example. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And now you spoke a little bit about like meditation and science and the two voices that actually create the confluence somehow. And tell me a little bit about, so from your renunciation till now, do you have a deep life of practice and meditation? And I would be curious, what if you share a few things with us that life of practice deepened, or what do you feel changed in this 45 years that as a result?
I think that sometimes people ask me, what are you doing? And I say, when I'm starting my PhD, writing dissertation is my meditation. And if you ask me that, what's your daily, meditation right now, Yifa, I would say, when I go to attend all this meeting, that's my meditation. Well, I think that from my own experience, definitely the first 2 weeks training in the temple, that inspire me to, for decent renunciation. That's really a great foundation. I would say that's kind of a minor realization, minor realization. And because that has a big force, energy to help you to change all your life direction. Otherwise, now I probably become a Taiwanese politician right now. No more Taiyuan. But that's one. And then the second one is in Taiwan, that the temple I joined is called Buddha's Light Mountain. That means the Foguangshan. And this temple is in the mainstream, and it's also one of the biggest Buddhist Sangha, Buddhist community in Taiwan. So when you join the order, you need to pass almost 4 years of fundamental training. So that means during that time, you are totally a novice and also a student of meditation, student of rituals, a student of chanting, and student of Buddhist teaching. So 4 years. And not only that, I later I also myself become the dean of this seminary, and that will kind of, I'm the one who trained the student doing the chanting, ritual, meditation, and etiquettes, protocol, how you can become a monks and nuns. And I think those training is not like what people think. The monastic life training, it's always a close eye and sitting meditation. The principle of a monastic life training, the first one is to train your self-discipline. Once when you are in that kind of so regular, for example, 4 o'clock, you wake up, and then you have to start to, washing your face, and by certain time, you have to be kind of in line and waiting to get into the main shrine doing the morning chanting. So let me give it to you that the way we describe the monks and nuns' life in the Chinese language is called morning bell and evening drum. Okay, so in the traditional monastic life training in the ancient time, the temple could have over 10,000 people. And in the seminary I have, it's about like almost 200 students at that time. That was about like a 1980s. And so why is it called in Buddhism monastery, there was, in the ancient time, you don't have a clock. So in the temple, they use, sometimes you hear the bell, you hear the drum, you hear the wooden boat. This signal, it's kind of the signal of a schedule. In Buddhism monastery, you don't hear like a big speaker, like now it's a meditation time. You don't have a speaker. But in the morning, you will hear, one person on duty hit the wooden board, cock, or cock, cock, or cock, 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 or cock, 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 or cock, 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 cock. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so in the hour of 5 in Chinese, it's called geng. Then, that means that you have to get up when you hear the wooden board, and then continue with the 108 bell, the sound of the bell. And during that time, you have to get up and finish your wash and put your robe and waiting, in line and to get on the main shrine. So when you hear, then after bell, then you hit 2, 3 sections of a drum. They hit the drum. That means what? The first section of drum, you need to be in where you should be. So if you are not there, that means that you are late. So in the monastery's life, it's training a self-discipline. Nobody's forcing you, but you just hear this signal, then you know where you have to be. And at 9, they will start with the 3 section of a drum. So when for example, at the 9:30, you hear the drum, they hit the drum. That means what? Okay, turn off the light, wrap up all what you were doing, and then go to wash your face. So after 3 sections, started with the 108 bell, that means what? That means you have to sit on your bed and then do meditation. And you have to doing the meditation after 108. And when they start to hit the wooden board, then you can lie down to sleep. So I think that the monastic, it's not just with the eye closed. And this is very important because I was able to finish my dissertation in 6 years. And my advisor, Stanley Weinstein, told me that, Yifa, I think it's because you have that self-discipline. So you are able to finish your dissertation in a short period of time. Yeah. So this self-discipline, and then also be mindfulness. Of course, you cannot be like every second always mindfulness, but you always raise this kind of a sense of mindfulness and to examine your daily life. I may not be, kind of sitting there like a whole day, but every time when you withdraw back your daily life, and then you kind of contemplate, raise this mindfulness, what you have done today, it's good or bad. And so, for example, one of the students asked me, say, "Oh, Yifa, what's your favorite Kong'an?" In Kong'an is like in Zen, like you always wondering who I am and what was my original face before I was born, or what is the song of one hand clapping? That's kind of a famous one. But for me, it's every evening when my head hit the pillow. And that was the moment I started to contemplate that, at the moment of my last breath, who am I? That means at the moment when we are dying, who are you? I mean, without this physical body, and what's the moment of your consciousness? So that it's a kind. I hope that I answer your question about the
beautifully. Yeah, beautifully. Thank you. And so that's really lovely, and it's also lovely to get the transmission of your monastic life experience and training. It's lovely. Thank you. Because you talked about the Buddhist teachings, when we look at like our world today, like many people start talking about the crisis, there are conflicts, climate change, many kind of potentially or already disruptive things are happening. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about how the teachings you received and that you pass on also, how can they help us in this time? So what are the foundational Buddhist teachings in such a, let's say, crisis time or a time of a strong change? And whatever you think is important for our listeners.
Okay. I always tell people that if you call yourself a Buddhist and a practitioner, if you are not happy, then you probably on the wrong path. That's the way I say it. Okay. So you have to change. You have to examine what you have been learning. So I think that I always tell people that before you benefit other people, you have to benefit yourself. So in Buddhism, we call 自利利他. And then if you want to help other people, you need to help yourself. You have to make yourself healthy and happy first. And so that is why it doesn't look like it's not selfish at all. Because if you are not healthy, the people surround you cannot sense of that positive energy. You probably give a lot of negative energy to the people surround you. And then how to make yourself, and this is just like the airplane. When we take the flight, they say, okay, when the oxygen mass drop, you have to put on yourself, then you can help other people. The same reason. And how can you make yourself healthy? I personally, I benefit from not just Buddhism, but also Taoism. Because in Chinese, we have a kind of Confucianism education, we have a Taoism's education, and then Buddhism. So sometimes Professor James Robertson, we always teaching. He always say, "Oh, Yifa, you going for interfaith dialogue," and yeah. So I think that this kind of a Taoism, for example, many people hear about Wu Wei, they call non-action. It's not really no action at all. It means non-action means you have an action, but without the contrived mind. That means you should not calculating about the result. Especially, it's really bad that every time you take action and you calculate, it's going to be benefit for yourself only. Then that action is going to lead into bad result. Yeah. So then now you come to Buddhism called cause and effect. So when we do something, we always want to make sure that when I put a good cause and condition, that means your motivation is right one. And then the path will lead into the right path. So this is very important, that non-action doesn't mean you should not do anything. So for example, climate change or help other people, it doesn't mean, okay, we had to be just kind of lay down and doing nothing. I think that's wrong. And that is why, for these 45 years, I still have been very busy. We create all kinds of international education. But you know what? Every time when people ask me about, Yifa, what's you think that your great achievement of your summer program, you bring the 100 students to the temple in Taiwan, in China, doing meditation. And I always answer that the great, achievement is our student go home safely. That's it. Yeah, that's what we wish for. And we are not, I didn't put like, okay, after you attend our program, you have to become a Buddhist. It's not conversion program. It's education. Education you can share. So this is what we call Woodenfish Monastic Life Program. And for example, this summer, we're going to take the student to Korea. And the people come in, you don't have to become a Buddhist. So in the past, we have a student from Muslim and Christian. Some of them are our students, after they finish the program, they go back to their church and then, become a pastor. I said, great. I think it's more, it's a better to have, lots of good people, or good Christian, or good Muslim, or good Buddhist, whatever, and then you have a small bad, kind of a evil Buddhist. I think it's good to have I think this is called Buddhism and Christian and Muslim. Sometimes it could be because the terminology. You have to see your action, your practice is really fit into, we call the religion or spiritual. A lot of people, in the name of a religion, and they started with a murder or massacres. I don't think that's a real religion. And then also there's a non-self, non-action. Of course, Buddhism also non-self. We will come to that later. And the other one is sometimes I feel like our society tend to think from one side. When you write in your dissertation, you understand you always want to make your own argument. And you have to enhance all the material to help you to come to your argument, to support your argument. But you also know that there was a lot of facts there you neglect there. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is our world indeed is neither good or bad. Okay. Quote unquote. The reason I say that is, for example, I ask people about like a low population. Right now, the people really have a kind of a crisis about like a low population. And but we also try to prohibit right now the people have different kinds of create human. I would, for example, like a test tube baby, IVF. And, I mean, many people in the past, especially in the past, they're against this test tube baby. They think it's unnatural. But do you know how many test tube baby, like IVF in this world? Over a million. And they are just like normal people. And then, of course, we also have in the future, I believe it's going to have a clone, and it's going to be even have a synthesized embryo, and AI and this machine. Well, I think that people tend to be kind of denied it from the beginning. Okay, and let me come back to this low population. So we are worried about there was a kind of because of people don't, some area, for example, China worry about it, and Japan, and maybe include Taiwan, because right now the young people, they don't want to get married, or they don't want to give birth of a child. And of course, that's for them, that's the issue. But we also worry about like the global population. Remember in the 90s, always worry about like a whole global is going to overpopulate, so we will not have enough food. But I think that the world has kind of back and forth. For example, right now we have all this drum, and maybe can replace a soldier to get on the battlefield. You don't have to send the soldier to go into the battlefield, but also at the same time, you also can use a drum to killing more people. Yeah, so it has a good and bad. So in a Taoist, a famous story that an old man that he lost a horse. And the neighbor said, "Oh, I'm sorry for your loss." And you say, "Oh, it's not bad at all." And then his own horse suddenly brought back a bunch of wild horse. And the people say, "Oh, great, you gain a lot. Okay, you not only one horse, you get your horse back, but you also get extra more horse back." He said, "Well, it's neither good either." And then when his son ride on one of the wild horse and broken, his own leg. And the neighbor say, "Oh, I feel sorry for you. Your son had to face this kind of a tragedy." He said, "Well, it's not bad either." And then because his son broken his leg, then he was able to exempt from a military service. Yeah. So this is a famous Taoist story said that, things are neither good or bad, and sometimes you have to see the big, kind of longer spectrum and big scope as well. So I think that if individual are anxious too much about this collective comics world, then probably also create a lot of frustration, depression for yourself. So I think that starting from kind of more healthy philosophy to help our younger generation, it's, and I try not to create too much anxiety. And in order not to create too much anxiety, maybe you have to switch from the other, perspective to look at this world. And for example, climate change. I think that for climate change, a lot of times we ask people, "Oh, you should not do that. You should not do that." But in our personal life, many people are very wasteful. Waste of food, waste clothes. Shopping, consumerism, like buying a lot of unuseful stuff and then have to throw away. It's thinking about every day, when I take my garbage out, I always kind of have to repent.
Right.
Like, okay, just one person, you create this so much garbage, So, I think that the people need to be more aware of your personal life, whether there was a lot of unnecessary. And you don't just go out to participate this protest, movement. One time I have a student and he claimed that he was working for, environmentalist climate change issue. And I was very happy that, young people, such engagement. But at the end of the program, when we were in a sacred mountain and we're going to leave the Airbnb, and the owner, took one luggage and full of uniform, full of all, because that was our last day of the program. And then the owner of Airbnb, someone dropped the luggage. And so we asked who's it? And these kids, they say, that's mine, but that's garbage. I'm going to throw away. But inside there was full of uniform clothes, all kinds of, basically it's his whole luggage. So at that time I was really, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. I shouted at him. I said, you claim you are the environmentalist, but you create such a garbage. And this garbage is still very useful. And you create the garbage for the Airbnb, create a lot of inconvenience too. So I think that and our whole universe changed. And in Buddhism, that it says, if we look at our world, when condition is there, it come to be. Okay, and then it stay flourishing, but it will decline and finally extinguished. Buddhist teaching said that is the principle of everything. This is called impermanence. Always come to be and flourishing and decline and extinction. 生住异灭. Yeah. So just like a person, we were born and we become aging, and we died of some kind of a disease or age, and then sickness and die as a human being. Of course, right now we try to be kind of a prolonged life. For a certain extent, it worked. So if individually, if we kind of use this attitude to check this universe, so you will not create all kinds of anxiety. That's what I mean, and it doesn't mean that you don't take action at all, but you also realize that is the reality, that's the fact, and you just, of course, we also understand what a cause and effect, cause and condition and leading to the effect. So you need to put a good condition and good cause there. And then naturally, the principle will lead into the good result. And of course, we also have to understand our whole world is collective karma, the collective action. So it's very important. I also feel like education is very important, because education is on this kind of education on the collective karma. And still, I still believe we have to keep yourself, healthy. I in 45 years now, especially right now, I feel like when people ask me, said, do you have a worry? And I will ask them, I say, what should I worry? I don't have a car. I don't have a house, but I have enough food. I rent an apartment, enough, life it's enough. And thank America that if I really ends up homeless, I think that America have a good benefit. Social benefit. Well, and especially relationship, I'm not worried. There was nobody in this world I have an attachment. So relationship, property, material, and I don't know. And career, I'm doing what I'm doing.
It's very beautiful. It's lovely to listen to you. I'm enjoying this very much, to listen to your wisdom. And you said something before I want to come back to. You said like your exploration also with AI and prolonging life. And like, let's speak a little bit about wisdom and AI, because that's something that's up right now everywhere. So, Buddhist teachings, your practice, and AI. Maybe you can speak a little bit how you're looking at the current development.
Yeah, of course. You know what? The hottest term in this year, especially 2024, is the AI. And it looks like if you are not talking about AI, you are obsolete. You're out of the date. And it's not just because that. I think that for me, it's more like, for example, when I working on my PhD, I have to bring like a 100 volume of a canon. That means the whole wall will be all these printing the canon. It's called 大藏经. And then see around like a 90, especially 20, just for within these 20 years. And then all the canons right now, it's online. And not just online, it's on my cell phone app. So can you believe that just within these 20 years that I used to have to bring the 100 volumes of canon, right now, I just need a cell phone. So this is a big leap. And I think that AI definitely, this just a reality, it's going to change our lifestyle. We just need to face it. And myself, it's you can call AI optimistic. Optimistic. I think that I have a more kind of a open attitude and want to face the AI, what will be the reality that AI will bring into our life. So first thing I always ask, what will AI impact on religion? For the first one, that, for example, in the Chinese canon, we have a 100 volume. And in there, Buddhism is not like the Christianity. You maybe only have a certain the text, but in Buddhism, the Buddhist sutra in Han, in the Chinese language, over thousands texts, and right now we have probably over hundreds translate into English. So what can you imagine that in the future, that if we are able to fit the AI, this LLM, a lot of this more like a Buddhist terminology, then in the future that AI can help we translate the whole 100 volume of the sutra. This would be great, a great kind of outcome from AI. And the secondly, I also, just think about these 20, 30 years. I have a YouTube a lecture on should Buddhism become a vegetarian, and that was over like 60,000 viewer. But think about it, if I build a temple, I give that lecture. If I have 60 people come over, I would be really happy. And not to mention about it's going to pay 60,000 and people viewer, and even longer. So I think that in 1990s, I always said that my temple is is a what? It's a eye temple. And so your temple is in the sky, in the cloud. And this has really happened. So I think that AI will be replaced a lot of physical temple. Whether that's good or bad, I think that which I would still appreciate a more physical what do you call the architectures building, like a temple or church. But we also have to face the reality. Fewer people will go to the church and the temple. And so, but the other interesting thing, it's a more philosophical or metaphysical question will be, where is the human's consciousness come from? And how far is the human's consciousness and artificial intelligence, how far? If we say the artificial intelligence is kind of a semi-human's neural network, it's imitate human's brain, the neural network, that means closer. If we are able in the future to dissect the human's consciousness, maybe become 0 and 1, and maybe even our emotion will be dissect, become like just kind of a signal, a 0 and 1. I don't know how to call that, and then that means it's possible. AI is going to closer, to human being, or even stronger. That's the prediction. And you know what? I was at the Harvard Kennedy School, and there was a conference called Lab Embryos, Nature and Synthesis. And you know what? They invite a scientist from Israel, Tel Aviv. Maybe I should find out for you to see. They are developing synthesized embryo, like up to 14 days. When they have a scan, it's exactly the same with the natural. And they probably take a mouse, the cell, and they call feeding and shaking. They feed the embryo, the cell, the nutrition, and then also like a machine shaking. So feeding and shaking, and up to 14 days, exactly the same like a nature, or even certain part even stronger. Yeah. Some people probably, of course, these face a lot of, ethical issue. But I emphasize that the first one, that in Western religion, we have a so-called God create the world, create the life. But in Buddhism, we don't have the such teaching like the God create the world. So now when we question whether humans should create a life or not, the Buddhist answer, Buddhism's answer will be, as long as there was a condition, it's there, and then things will come to be. So whenever there were existence of cause and effect, cause and conditions, and then you can precede the effect. And that allowed the science to make it, anything is possible. And that also fits to what, Buddhism is teaching. So in Buddhism, come to this issue, it will not say it's good or bad, but it will just tell you that it's going to happen. If you are right components, everything is possible. And of course, the evil or good and evil will be decided by the motivation, how you utilize this tool or how to utilize this life. And so now the definition. So in Buddhism, good and evil, it's defined as if you hurt yourself, you hurt other people, then it's unwholesome. But the best result is that you will not hurt yourself, you will not hurt other people. But if you hurt yourself and hurt other people, then it's evil. And of course, you also have a bodhisattva. You will sacrifice yourself to help other people. But that is also more like a kind of exam. Your sacrifice is justified or not, So that's an even longer, like an argument behind how to help other people and help yourself, and what is the bodhisattva. So then, come to the AI. I think that it's going to change a lot of, on the sutra, scriptures, compilation, and maybe structure of the temple. And of course, we're going to have a more Yifa to spread the Dharma than just one.
Yeah, that's right. You'll have many AI animations of Yifa all around the world.
Yeah. But the issue, I know I don't mind many Yifa, but the issue is now, now we come to the ethic is if this a manifestation of Yifa, that's why in Buddhism we have like a Buddha and Bodhisattva have a lots of manifestation. So I think that this clone or this AI things, it's going to be kind of more like a manifestation. But the issue is, of course, maybe not all the Yifa will be the same. You make sure that you can teach them, just like you teach the kids, should not do anything to harm other people. And the other one is, I think that you will face the other issue is whether you have attachment. I think that the AI is going to become another species, a special species. Right now, look at it that we have dog and cats at home. It's become our family member. So if a dog or cat die, you just like a one family member die. And so if in the future that AI plus the robot AI working with you and also have all kinds of emotion, that probably you're going to grow kind of a feeling, attachment. And so, for example, if I have an Yifa as an AI, and someday I feel like, okay, I don't need you anymore, and I want to unplug the battery. And in my mind, whether that will create the killing karma. So that's kind of what we have to think about the ethical issue. So for the world, we have to educate. Everybody's worried about like AI is going to hurting people. Or if you choose to give up, just like we have some bad children. Maybe we have people commit murder. But we human never decided not to give birth of a child, isn't it? Just need to give an education. So if you know that the AI is going to kind of carry out some kind of an evil mission, but right now you also can educate them. So it depends on what kind of data, information, the thought, teaching to teach the AI. So that's what we have to do. It's right now we still have to limit the negative, violence and kind of harmful language, material, data, information into this LLM, like a large language,
That's
model.
right.
You don't want to feed them the unhealthy food to the AI. It's an education too. Yeah.
Yifa, it's so amazing. We can go into all kinds of subjects. They're all super interesting. I saw our time flew by like nothing, like click, we're here more than an hour. And So thank you so much. I know it's we could go in so many others. I have so many more questions now.
Yeah.
But first of all, so lovely to see you and feel you and listen and learn from you. So thank you very much. And I'm sure.
Thank you for your patience. You just listen to me. Thank you. You just
Of course, I want to listen to you. That's why I'm here. And yeah, it was very enriching, and I would love to stay in contact. And it was really lovely. Thank you very much.
Please, please. And whenever you come to Boston, make sure we should meet in person.
Yes, we will do that. We will do that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Point of Relation with Thomas Hübl. Stay connected and get updates about new episodes by visiting our website, pointofrelationpodcast.com, and by subscribing to the Thomas Hübl YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share about us with your community on social media. Thank you. We appreciate your support.